What is this moment saying to you now? Is there a teaching in this moment? Is there a thought in this moment? What is a teaching? What is a student? What is a teacher? Products of the mind, ladies and gentlemen. There is no student. There is no teacher. There are no teachings. There's just you exploring yourself. And that's what we're just being able to understand here on this planet, in this life, in this reality, is that you are empty. And when you are empty, you understand everything. You let everything go. You drop all the bags. And it is through that emptiness that you are now available to explore everything, because there's no filters in your way anymore. There's no conditions. There's no feelings of having to do something. As soon as we do that, we go right back into the hamster wheel. We start becoming this little fluffy creature and start doing this. So, what is the silence of the moment teaching you, showing you, revealing to you? How do you all feel here and now? Exactly. There doesn't need to be an expression. You guys are sharp. So, a lot of what I was contemplating about what to share with everybody here is just all about looking into your own personal power and looking more so into the aspect of shadow, what I have termed shadow law. That shadow law is one of the most greatest forms of understandings there is, because we basically have shadow and we have light. What does light teach us? Anyone? It doesn't teach you anything. Shadows teach you everything. Light is the purity of your own state of acceptance. It is the diamond that has been forged within the charcoal. What did it take for that diamond to appear in that center of the charcoal? Pressure. All those millions of years of pressure within the charcoal. And now you're finally able to break open those dark containers of charcoal, and now you see the diamonds. Nothing to teach. Shadow teaches you everything. Shadow is showing you everything. It's telling you everything that you are not. Everything that you are not is helping you to shape yourself to move into that contour of a diamond. And that's how we have shadow law. So shadow law is very prominent, especially upon Earth. Earth is going through a unique experience, but there are many other planets that are going through similar experiences like we are, but not as intense. So because humans are designed to have great contrast, we have the fullest contrast of our being here. We're able to express ourselves in the deepest ways. We're able to go off into the extremes. And it's right when we're teetering on the edge, just by a hairline, where we give the impression to grab a hold of the cliff and pull ourselves up and realize, oh, now I can change. Because I was able to experience that extreme right to the cusp before I was able to basically fall right off this cliff. So we're cliffhangers. We're a cliffhanger species. We're able to just basically go right to the extreme. It's like those monster trucks, right? We're revving the engines, we're tearing it across the field, and we're going so fast, and we're making the corner so hard, and we're trying to turn and turn. Oh, we're just about to tip over. Oh, no, we're not. We come right back, right? That's the whole idea. Humans are extremists. That's the nature of us, especially within this universe. And that we are part of genetic stock of 22 different extraterrestrial races. And because of that 22 extraterrestrial race stock, we have a great deal of contrast relating to ourselves. That relating to everything that humanity is, there have been 39 versions of humans. And this 39 versions of human creation itself has continued to repeat over and over again through many different forms of cataclysms. Through looking at Lemuria, looking at Atlantis, looking at Egypt, looking at Peru, looking at Samaria, looking into all of these different forms of civilizations that have come and gone. Humanity has had to restart itself over and over and over again. And our genetics have been tweaked every single time, before, during, and after such civilizations. So what we're learning here right now is being able to understand the contrast that we have, and realizing that the true way of being able to understand yourself, again, is playing with your shadows, is playing with the darkness. The darkness is what's going to provide you with every knowledge. Because when you start looking into your own shadows, it's going to tell you everything. What's one particular aspect of what a shadow can represent? What's its deepest root?
Fear.
Trauma. Trauma is its aspect. Fear is just an archetype. It's just an archetype of a particular emotion that's cushioning the aspect of a trauma. And there are 3 traumas known to men. There's only 3. And I refer to it as ARA. Abandonment, rejection, and abuse. That's it. There's nothing else. So, for us to feel like we are angry at something, it's pointing us towards something that we have been abandoned, rejected, or abused from. And that's how we have emotions. Emotions are just cushions. Emotions aren't the deepest root. They're just like weeds that are growing out of the garden. And then we're trying to pull out the weeds, and we know that a week later, the weeds start to grow back. So, well, I worked on this emotion. I was able to work on this emotion. Why is it growing back? Because you're not pointing to the trauma, right? It's the trauma itself that is going to shape what you feel. This reality represents how you feel about yourself, is that you're constantly traumatized, right? It's when we go back into those earlier times of life and saying, how was I traumatized? What happened to me? Well, maybe I felt that my parents didn't love me, and so I felt rejected. Maybe I felt no one understood me, so I felt abandoned. Maybe I felt hurt by everything people thought about me in judgment, and so I felt abused. That's it. It's those 3 aspects pertaining to trauma. Now, there is a technique that I have developed known as light circuitry attunements. You can actually find that on my website, newearthteachings.com. And what light circuitry attunements does, it's an instantaneous healing system. There's no magic to it, really. It's just the idea of being able to talk you through a certain meditative state and being able to go heart to heart with your trauma in the deepest way, right? And looking into what that trauma is. So, this is why I say that it's not really about a teaching. It's not about a student, and it's not about a teacher. It's about just looking into you, exploring yourself. And that's all I'm here to do, is just to help you to explore yourself. Some people may want to call me a teacher or a mentor or a guide in that way. That's fine. But again, archetypes of the mind. What happens when you take everything of the mind away? You become that essence. You become pure flow. You are here. You are now. And that's all there is. It doesn't need to be so much of this mental porn, right? Mental fapping, as I call it in a certain way. But that's really what it is just looking into what is keeping us in the mind. Because it's not about the idea of feeling that I need a teacher to help me understand what's keeping me in the mind. A teacher can't do that to you. Teachings in that basic way are kind of useless. And I say that in the most nicest way possible. Is that because as soon as you look into the aspect of a teacher that's attempting to teach you something, you basically have to come to their particular level. You have to look at them and saying, well, this is what my teacher is noticing about me. But is that the totality of you? No. You become that which they represent, that you will therefore move beyond. So a teacher is just a reference. It's an anchor point to you here and saying, this is what I need to learn right now. This is what my teacher's telling me. It's a yoga teacher, right? Teaching about the downward dog, teaching about the upward dog, teaching about Warrior 1. What is this one? Warrior 1, Warrior 2? Something like that. But that's all that the teacher is here to do. It represents a marker for you. Your teacher is not going to resolve you. It's not possible. Who gets to resolve you, guys? You do. Exactly, right? And you see how simple that is, right? So when you're basically aligning to a certain teacher, it's because you've reached a certain benchmark. You've reached a certain point within your life where you're realizing, I need this teacher in my life because they're helping me to see certain things in myself that I could not see before. But we also have to understand what attracts also repels, what repels also attracts. That teacher is also seeing themselves through their particular student. This is why we say there is no teacher, there is no student. You only have a certain understanding of what you know, but what you know is not enough for your salvation. To have salvation is not knowing. To have salvation is pure understanding. It's to be completely empty, right? Take everything that you know and put it aside. And let this moment just bring you clarity, right? So you look into those traumas to know what you felt you've held on to. You've held on to abandonment. You've held on to rejection. You've held on to abuse. Now when those start to fall and you bring yourself into a state of harmony, you work with love, you work with forgiveness. That's very, very important. And now those traumas become part of your light. Now you're light. So what does it feel like to be light? It's the effect of your abundance, the effect of yourself transcending past a teaching. Because think about it in this way. If all we do in our minds is hold on to a teaching, how free are we feeling? When we basically have a teaching in our mind, it's a should, it's a shouldn't. It's a would, it's a wouldn't. It's a could, it's a couldn't. Or I have this teaching, should I be like this? Should I be like that? Look at how my master is. Maybe I should look at exactly how my master is. And that's how I'm going to understand that state of teaching. And that's a trap. That's a mentalism in that way. It's not to say that teachings cannot be helpful. They certainly are. But like I said, they're a benchmark. They're a marker showing you exactly how far you've come. So when you represent yourself and coming into a teacher who is teaching you a lot about maybe the Tao, teaching you a lot about channeling, mediumship, healing in that way, spiritual teachings, etc. Even my company is called New Earth Teachings, right? So there are teachings involved. But the whole idea is that I'm teaching you to go beyond teaching. I'm teaching you to move past this aspect of mentalism in that way, right? So it becomes a dichotomy because you're not really able to explain what it is you're doing other than using some particular type of reference, right? Saying, oh, okay, here I am, here's New Earth Teachings, right? So this is just something for you guys to contemplate as we get more deeper into today's interaction as well. Now, I'll just tell a little bit about myself. My name is Brad Johnson. I am the founder of New Earth Teachings. I've been doing this work now for about a decade, and I started when I was living in Victoria 10 years ago, and just started to write a book, a science fiction novel about extraterrestrials and wanting to know more about them. What was the real truth, the real understanding behind them? And as I started to research this, I got more into meditation because I was looking into what psychics, black ops community personnel, everybody were just saying about ETs, and they say, well, we can connect to them through meditation. They believe in a one infinite consciousness, and they connect to the one infinite creator. And through meditation, you're able to connect with them. And I was blown away by this. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. We didn't believe any of this stuff, right? And it's one of the most god-awful religions there is. But basically, I was looking into the aspect of meditation. So I went into a library. I took out a book called Learn How to Meditate, read it from front cover to back cover within about a week, did all the exercises within it, went very, very deep into trance, started going into these surreal worlds, started touching like these gigantic etheric crystal balls that I was seeing within the mental planes, and I would just feel it in the physical body as well too. It felt like electricity, right? So I'd wake up in the middle of the night and into the morning knowing things I did not know before. And so I was getting these download states. I was getting like a filling cup of knowledge in that particular way. And so I decided to put the science fiction book aside. I did complete it, by the way. But at that time, it was more so looking into meditation, looking into healing, looking into channeling, looking into mediumship in that sense. And so as I continued to progress, I created an online community. And this online community had thousands of people from all over the world talking about, again, psychics, intuitives, channels, healers, mediums, etc. And then I started to investigate channeling. Right? Channeling was very, very fascinating to me. So I started looking into people like Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. You guys heard Bashar, right? Abraham Hicks, right? quite a few other ones. Name's not coming to mind right now. But after all that, I said, you know what, this is what I want to get involved with. And so I started to get into channeling and learning a lot from what other people were sharing about how they channeled. I kind of put everything into a pot and kind of brewed it into my own state of channeling. And that state of channeling was known as automatic writing, or channeled writing in that way. And it wasn't until about December of 2008 when I encountered a being that would be my prominent channel to connect with from even up to this day. And a friend of mine who was also a channel was saying, oh, Brad, I feel that there's very strong Syrian energies within you. You have very strong energies with the star of Sirius A. And it feels like there's a contact there that wants to communicate with you. So you should probably look into that. So I went into my meditative state. I went into channeling, or to channeling this being. And this being introduced himself as Adronis. And Adronis came through and said, Brad, I'm a version of you 297 years in the future. I've come back at this time to helping you spiritually evolve. And as you spiritually evolve, you'll be taking people with you as you spiritually evolve together, right? Is this something that you wanted to do? So I say, sure, this is something that sounds good. But it's basically getting to the point where it got so intense, I just thought, maybe I'm going crazy. You know, my ex-wife thought I had like 3 heads doing all this work. So I just said, all right, just to know that this is true, I went out to my balcony and I just said a prayer. I said, you know, if you guys are real, just show yourself. If there's any allied ships within this vicinity, just show yourself so that I know that this is real, right? 10 seconds later, the star wheeled right out of the sky and shot right across the sky within a span of 30 seconds. My ex-wife saw it as well, too. She still couldn't believe it. So that was that's all I needed to convince myself that this was the true nature of what I was going through in that way. And since that time, I've looked into every particular facet of spirituality, from astrology, from mediumship, healing, channeling, psychic ability, the Akashic records, you name it, right? Everything. Magic as well, too. Going into those explorations and looking into like Qigong, Taoism, looking into a lot of the ancient teachings on this planet. And so that's just a little bit of my my journey, my background, right? So I just wanted to share that with all of you. What I'd like to do right now is I wanted to see if we can get up and we can stand up. Let me see if we can do a little bit of energy work, right? I have a little technique I'm going to show each of you. This is actually on my YouTube channel as well. This is called the Golden Ball, Golden Aura exercise. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is just placing your hands upon your heart. Close your eyes. And I want you now to bring up the most joyful feeling that you can possibly imagine. Just take a moment now. Feel that stirring within yourself. What is that most beautiful, joyful feeling you can ever imagine? I just want you to feel that feeling and just bring it up into your heart space. As your hands are on your heart and you're feeling that energy now. Just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And just let this feeling of joy start to radiate, resonate through your hands. And as you bring your hands out now, just to form a chi ball. Okay? So just form a chi ball with your hands. Just imagining that golden light is contained in this ball, and that this golden light represents that of your joyful feeling. That joyful feeling now is becoming much more colorful, much more luminescent. It's just pure beauty. Okay, and let's take another deep breath in and a deep breath out. And you can open your eyes just so you can get an idea of what I'm going to be doing here. So now just again, holding that chi ball within your hands, we're going to lift that chi ball up above the head. And we're going to imagine that our crown chakra is opening. And we're just putting that chi ball through the crown, going down the body, down the spine, all the way down to the perineum, the area between the genitals. And we're pulling that ball out. And we're putting it back to center. And we're going to do that 3 more times. Okay, so taking that ball up into the crown, down the spine, down the body, coming out through the perineum, back to center. Okay, this time, taking a deep breath in into the crown, slow, deep breath out. And pulling it out to the perineum, back to the center. Okay, do that one more time. Slow, deep breath in through the crown, down to the spine, feeling it traveling all the way down the spine, right down to the perineum, and back to center. Now what we're going to do with that ball is we're going to scrunch that ball just till it's about the size of a baseball. Once it's the size of a baseball, we're just going to take that ball, placing it directly into the sternum of the chest. Okay. So as we do that, we just feel that ball embedding together with our chest, with our energy, with our light. And what we're going to do is we're going to revolve our hands just like this, moving it into a vertical posture. And just imagining that we're squishing that ball down even more. Okay. Then we're going to turn our hands just like this and reach out as you exhale. And what you're doing is you're creating a golden aura. Okay? So you, again, wave your hands right up to vertical. It's meeting with the central meridian. You're scrunching it down again, like that baseball. And then you're turning it. Exhale. One more time. Slow inhale. Continuing the inhale as you go down. Turning your hands and exhale. Now we'll bring our hands into prayer position. And we're just going to give a blessing to the golden ball and golden aura that we placed within our body. May all energies that represent this golden energy be of the highest love, the highest light for my being, for any energy to enter. Namaste. Okay, you can have a seat. How do you guys feel? See, there's more of that silence again. Not going to tell everything, I'm just going to sit down. That's good. Glad you guys are in that alignment. Okay, so again, that's just a simple exercise that is taken from a variation of Qigong in that way, even Tai Chi as well too. So you can just use that at your leisure in that way. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to introduce you guys to Adronis. And Adronis, again, is this 6-density consciousness. And basically all we're going to do is probably get right into Q&A. He might just have something he might want to share, just in regards maybe to Salt Spring Island or anything of that nature. But I don't want you guys to hold back. Any questions that are on your mind, any burning questions that you want to ask, feel free to do so. Because right now, we're just at a marker, right? If you want to see him as a guide, a teacher, anything like that, that's fine. But remember, you are the liberation that you've been looking for, okay? So I'll give a brief introduction to him before I bring him in. He again represents a 6-density consciousness. That basically represents 7 dimensions existing within the star of Sirius A. He's basically a light body consciousness. He's just another version of me in another reality. Now basically as he represents 6 density, he would be about 78,000 years within the future, somewhere around there in that way. But when he comes through, he just gives a brief introduction, and then we get right into Q&A. You'll notice that I'll be doing some rotating like this. This is what I call orbiting. And so that's just a process of me being able to connect with his energies, purifying the connection. It's kind of like stepping into a vortex in that way. When he comes through, again, he's kind of a bold fellow, so his energy can get pretty intense. So if you need to take a bit of a step back, if he comes through, then that's always available. I did have a woman that nearly fell out of a chair when I was doing an event in Los Angeles. And she was like right in the back room. As soon as Adronis popped in, she's like, oh, almost fell out of a chair. So just depends upon how you feel the energy. So that's just a heads up in case that happens. I'll also be doing a light chant as well too as I bring him in. And then we'll get right into Q&A after a brief introduction. So hope you all enjoy it. And here we go. Soul Star We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this particular interaction through your group collective consciousness. What we would ask all of you at this particular time is simply allow yourselves now to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view, for all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. We will speak as it relates to the crystal that you understand as your Salt Spring Island. Now understand that several hundreds of years ago, this particular island was underwater, and that much in regards to its surfacing in that sense came through a great deal of earth changes. But during that time, much in regards to its crystallization has been preserved by the ocean, and that because your ocean is a habitat of spiritual energy, you can understand that your Salt Spring Island has been completely Christed with this crystalline energy, and that many, in regards to those who first stepped upon her land, felt the refreshment, the rejuvenation, very similar to smelling and enjoying the smell of mint, knowing that it goes deeply into your lungs, knowing that it completely fills your body with love, with divinity, and with that freshness. And throughout the times relating to the beginnings of your Salt Spring Island, for there were those who traveled here, who traded, who again just simply enjoyed being upon this island, for the aspect of the natural wildlife on this island was somewhat minute. There were, again, in that sense, animals that were being brought here, and those animals, therefore, throughout the generations began to spawn and bring forward more, such as your bears, such as your cougars, in that sense. They were not indigenous to this island. They were brought here. And so there was, again, a great deal of trade that came here. Basically focusing more so on the Salt Spring crystal. Again, this is all part of the rejuvenation, that mint-like freshness to which Salt Spring Island represents. And because it has this particular purity, this is what brings many people from your planet upon this particular island. There have also been other dimensional visitors that have visited Salt Spring Island, just not within the coherent dimension that you would understand you exist in within this particular time. Many of these particular beings, in that sense, utilized it in regards to bottling energy, would actually be able to use certain forms of containers and utilizing the pure scent, as it were, energetically, for this particular island, being able to bottle this energy and take it with them off planet or into their own particular coherent dimension as well too, simply because of the freshness. You can understand that this is very much like the Hawaiian Islands. This is what you would refer to as Canada's own heart chakra center that represents the chain of islands that you would know as the Gulf Islands. Now, basically we would feel that there are quite a few different chakra centers, even just within your Canada alone, especially within the area that you would know as the Kootenays or Kamloops in that particular way. For there is a certain area known as the center of the universe. And in that particular way, there is a great deal of magnetic energy existing within that space, simply because much to how that energy itself has come about was through the idea of ancient visitors. And basically, you can understand that within the center of the universe and its intense magnetic fields, this is the result of a crashed spacecraft that has basically been earthed into the deep soil for approximately several centuries. And that it is still active as it relates to its magnetic field coherency. But again, working together with Salt Spring Island and being here at the heart of this area within your Canadian country, this is helping you to open up the heart further. This is helping you to open it up just like a treasure chest and feel within it the divinity, the harmony that exists here upon this island. For you do not come here to concern yourselves with deep matters, concerning yourself in regards to the ways of your life as it relates to capitalism or corporations. You have come here to retreat. And that is the energy to what this Salt Spring Island crystal represents, is a state of retreat. So we thank you again for allowing us to share in this particular energy through this conduit as you all co-create this interaction together with us here and now, this third reality. We will now open up the floor, as it were, pertaining to a question and answer period. If any of you should have any particular questions for us at this time, please feel free to share. We thank you. Please begin.
Hello, Adronis.
Hello.
I'm also a physical brother of the being that's channeling you.
Yes, we are aware of that. We've actually contacted you a few times.
Uh-huh. What is, interestingly enough, the connection between Nelson and the Kootenays and Salt Spring Island? There's a very strong connection between these two places.
You could understand it in that sense as a type of triangulum, and that the triangulum in that sense represents, shall we say, aspects of blessings of much of your native Canadian tribes, we would say, that have basically been able to preserve the land and give to the land. You could understand it as a type of fruitfulness. And because there has been, shall we say, certain ley lines upon your planet that actually intersect between the islands and between the mainland, this also creates a refreshness as it relates to the shores. But you can also feel it very fertile within the land. Now, your entire province of British Columbia is well known for its natural beauty as well as its mountains. Mountains are natural pyramids, and because they are natural pyramids, they are able to funnel in cosmic energy and bring it across the land, spanning many different miles. Now again, throughout these areas of what you would know as the Kootenays and Kamloops, and again other particular areas such as your Vernon or your Nelson, many of these particular areas again have been touched by rich, energetic, shall we say, care. And much of this care has pertained to the idea of much of your natives, much in regards to your indigenous. There have been ceremonies conducted upon this land. You would understand that British Columbia was once a Lemurian colony. And because it was once a Lemurian colony, many different forms of rituals, ceremonies, were conducted upon these holy lands. And this, of course, were also much of the ancient dwelling points to former extraterrestrial civilizations that again once had certain spacecraft, came here in that sense and offering their own magnetic contribution to much of the land of British Columbia. Does that help?
It's very helpful, yes. I've been getting information lately on this that pertains to about what you said about almost as bottling the essence of this island.
Yes.
This is kind of what I've been getting. Download information. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes. Well, it is crystals visiting a crystal. That's the whole idea. Now, you have to understand that crystals themselves are not basically taking energy. They're absorbing it. And basically, this is what's happening with many of you, is that when you visit Salt Spring Island for a certain amount of time, your body becomes purified with this crystalline energy. And now you're able to carry that energy to wherever else you may go, to other lands and again to other people. And you're basically radiating this energy and therefore creating this habitat out of that particular way. Now again, with other particular beings, they actually have technologies. They can actually place and encapsulate actual energy within their particular capsules and are able to take that with them in that sense. In fact, this would be gifts for many other beings throughout your cosmos. As if you actually found a spiritually rich place upon a planet, had a capsule, and are actually able to take in energy and gift it to another. It would be a very cherished gift So yes, you are all crystalline beings in that sense. Yes, you are made of carbon mostly, but you also have silica. And through that aspect of silica, you are absorbing much of this natural energy, and it is helping you to become transformed. It is helping to take down the walls of yourself, and you are moving yourself into a greater hybridization from a third density race into a fourth density race.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more question?
Yes.
Regarding Ormus?
Yes. Orbitally rearranged molecular elements. Yes?
Yes.
What about Ormus?
I'm interested in, I'm exploring the aspects of energizing and creating Ormus here on Salt Spring.
All right. How have you been doing?
Trying to find the most natural way possible.
All right. Well, you could look into the idea of certain aspects as it relates to mineral. Mineral would be the aspect of equivalence to Ormus, which means you can look at sea salt in that particular way. It does not always have to relate to the idea of base metals. Base metals can be somewhat challenging based upon their purity of deliverance in regards to their discoveries. Basically, metals themselves do not always have to be the purity relating to the Ormus formula. It can therefore relate itself to the idea of fresh sea salt that is quite abundant across Salt Spring Island and across your entire coast of your British Columbia area.
Can you tell me the relation, please, between myceliums and minerals on Earth and this Ormus?
Well, they represent somewhat of a differences as it relates to potency.
Are the myceliums indigenous of this planet, or?
Yes, of course. Everything pretty much is indigenous to your planet, although it was basically genetically engineered. Now, we will say that yes, every single planet within your cosmos is engineered. In fact, your planet of Saturn was once a sun. And because it has basically died out in that way, it appears in that particular form. But again, everything is engineered. And so everything pertaining to your planet were seeds, just like a garden, coming in and planting certain seeds. So those seeds, yes, came from elsewhere, but cultivation came from here, upon this garden bed that you call Earth.
Is there any complementary crystals that you could suggest for charging the water? Or?
Well, it is more so in the idea of looking into the program that you are therefore bringing into the crystals. Now, crystals in that sense, such as quartz, such as amethyst in that sense, have natural charging properties. But it's when you're actually being able to meditate with the crystal that you can actually give it programming through the idea of thought, feeling, intention. And that's actually what's helping to assist in the alchemizing process a great deal further. The transmutic reaction moves forward to the programming that you're putting into the crystals based upon their inherent nature to absorb energy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Hello.
I see Brad's meditating inside a copper pyramid, and
He was.
oh, okay. I was just wondering, I was getting the feeling, I don't know, someone up over my bed or something, and it's not normal for me to have those thoughts. I was wondering if there was some feedback you've got on that idea.
In regards to you meditating in a copper pyramid?
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, this is helping you in regards to a state of refinement. It is basically, in that sense, attuning yourself. Really, when you're placing yourself in a pyramid of that particular structure, it is important that you are at least aligning your pyramid structure in through magnetic north, simply because you are in alignment with the currents of magnetism upon your planet. But when you're basically doing this, it's no more different than taking a guitar and fine-tuning it to therefore get the fresh tone. Make sense? That's all that's really happening here, is you're attuning yourself more to a purer connection of magnetism, magnetic energy, electromagnetic energy, so that you are therefore receiving energies on that purer level that can therefore be understood and therefore coming through your body without any resistance that may represent the aspect of distortion. If you were, for example, not meditating with a pyramid, or if the meditation pyramid itself was slightly askewed out of alignment off true magnetic north, and therefore feeling that there could be disruptions within the flow. So it is a purification flow energy that represents itself when you move into meditation in that form. Make sense? All right. Questions? May we know the names of the people that are sitting over here.
Lucia.
Lucia, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
Well, we thank you for the laughter.
Yeah,
How are you enjoying this moment?
I am. I'm trying to. I'm just sort of sensing what's kind of happening with the energy as it's coming in and what information is being brought in, and thinking. Like the questions are that I would formulate would be around what has already been brought in, but I want to kind of get out of the box a bit.
Oh, all right. Well, enjoy that big step out of the box.
What else?
Is it made out of cardboard by chance?
No.
All right. Now, basically, the whole idea is that there will always be some type of box. Because basically, again, as Brad was stating to many of you earlier, that the aspect of mentality will always have some particular type of confinement as it relates to concept. So therefore, if you continue to relate to concept, then concept may be a small box, or it could be an expansive box in that way. But nonetheless, it is a box. And so really the whole idea here is just flow with it. Just let the energy come through. Realize the power of the now moment. This moment is infinite. You will never experience it yesterday. You will never experience it tomorrow. You will never experience the last week. You'll never experience it next year. It's all here and now. So, if you are having fun playing within a box, like a cat that's enjoying a piece of string, then go for it. Enjoy it in that way, because it's only showing you that that box will only last so long before you decide to move into something else in another perspective of the now. Yes?
I enjoy the flow part.
Yes. So, would you like us to give you a ball of yarn?
Please.
Here, kitty, kitty. Feel better?
Yeah, it's
All right.
lightening up.
We thank you. How about anybody else within this area of the room?
I'm Catalina.
Catalina, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Very well, thanks. What about ETs
What about them?
showing up?
Showing up? As in a global contact?
Around here and the global, yeah.
Around
The
here?
governments and all that.
Well, you have to understand that really you have to look at reality like an onion. And basically, all beings simultaneously coexist within the same space. But because you all have different filters as you understand reality on a certain perceptual level, you're only able to see this particular veil. You have to understand that really when you go to other planets, it doesn't look like this. The way that you perceive reality in this way would not be how you would see planets existing beyond this particular prismatic life that you are seeing. You would have to look at it as a photographer's perspective of superimposition, of being able to look at exposed frames or superimposed frames overlaid on top of one another. That's the aspect of true reality. So basically we would say, what makes you think that they're not with you here right now? Because they are, just in different dimensional constructs. Now, you could refer to them as extraterrestrial, you could refer to them as extra-dimensional, you could simply refer to them as beings, just as you are. So they are all around you. Now, many of you in that sense may feel that you need to have some type of grand sighting, some type of sighting that gives you the indication, yes, they're here. They're in ships and they're around us, etc. You've already had those. There have been many beings. Are you familiar with your Phoenix lights existing within Phoenix, Arizona in your year of 1997? Those were extraterrestrial spacecraft. But many of you, again, are still debating as it relates to the mind and saying, when are they going to show up? They've already shown up. They've shown up many times throughout your course of history, but they don't really matter. And the reason why we say that is because it's about you. It's about your development. It's about you being able to peel away the onion and being able to see these veils by looking into the purity of yourself. So the beliefs that you hold on a perceptual level is what's creating the confinement of these prisms that help you to understand the world that you're living on now. Make sense? So the whole idea is that they can be all around you. It's about lowering the aspects of what you consider to be belief and mentalism and just accept and saying that I already feel them here right now. My body, my physical senses may not be able to pick them up, But when I go within, therefore I am picking those senses up. I am picking up those beings. So they can be all around you any particular time you wish. It's when you recognize them and you drop everything else that you know they are there. Because it's all just you looking at mirrors anyways. Right? And again, that's another particular part. Many of them do not have a relationship that they can correlate together with you for you to define them as some type of presence, because you haven't created some type of relationship to what many of them represent. And so they therefore come into a standstill. They're like looking behind you with plate glass, because they're not able to interact with you in this life at this particular moment, because there's no relationship permission slip to bringing them into your reality. Right? That's the idea. So when you start to expand yourself and realize the connection to deep oneness, to understand how you are all interconnected, and being able to feel that flow with love and beauty within your heart, you are now opening more gateways of opportunities for them to become present in some shape, way, or form within your life. Right? So we thank you for your question. Anything else on that? Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, Adronis.
Hello.
I'm Raquel.
Hello, Raquel.
I don't particularly have any questions, but do you have any advice for me?
Well, that's a question. Well, basically, we feel that there is a great connection for you in performing exercise and basically helping you to develop a harmony between body, mind, and spirit. Yes? Do you enjoy playing an instrument by chance?
I've been meaning to learn, but I haven't got down to it.
Is there a certain instrument that tickles your fancy?
Guitar.
There you go. That would be our advice to you. Get into music. Play and soothe yourself with melody. And that would be the idea of helping you to unwind and align yourself into a different level of peace that you have basically, in that sense, wanted to move into for quite some time. Yes?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your question. Anything else? Hi.
Haley.
Haley?
Yes.
Hello, Haley. Such a soft speaker.
Sorry.
How can we help you?
I've been questioning a lot of purpose stuff and directional stuff in me, and I'm almost afraid of it. I'm looking to some type of direction.
All right. Well, here's one particular direction. Go within. And don't be afraid of what you see. Now, what is it that's causing the fear in particular? Do you know?
Not being able to step up.
All right. So it is basically, in that sense, is it a feeling of rejection?
Love myself, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's the whole idea, is that if you, again, shy yourself away from something that you want to follow, it's the idea of saying that I'm not worthy to follow that path. I'm undeserving of it. And because I'm undeserving of it, I will not be able to achieve this. This is what we refer to as the mirage in the desert analogy, is that you can see a big, gigantic luxury car in the desert, and you're running up to it because it looks so exciting, but as soon as you approach it, it turns back into a rock. Because the whole idea is that you're still seeing it within the mind, but you're not seeing it within yourself. Because you see something within the mind, it does not represent the aspect of claimancy. It is not the aspect of being. It's the aspect of believing. So we would say, take believing and ask believing to please be leaving. And what you have left is be. So tell the leave in believe to leave. Right? Therefore, you're being this aspect. You no longer have that aspect of leaving anymore. You're not leaving the aspect of thinking, this is just a mentalism, and I'm not going to be able to accomplish this. I'm not going to be able to follow this through because I'm undeserving of yourself. So, what can you say to yourself that says, I deserve everything that I feel I wish to experience? Do you know?
But I am love.
Correct. And it's about being that love. And it's even letting go of the I. It's just saying, thou is love. Because anytime that you put an I to something, you're again just looking at it as a certain state of identity. This conduit, this being, this human body feels that it can have this. And again, if we're looking at it in a form of materialism or feeling of belonging relating to that aspect of property or possession, this is what limits you. So in saying that thou is the purity of love, thou is able to connect to anything that thy wishes. So this is again much in regards to the context of your ancient language, pertaining to thee, thy, thou, etc. Because it's helping you to transcend the aspect of I. Because nowadays, throughout your current modern era, whenever you're looking at I, it would pertain to an aspect of selfishness. So when you basically let go of the I, asking it to leave, like the leave and believe, then basically you're telling yourself, this is permanence. And as permanence, everything exists as thou. So basically what you're doing is that not seeing yourself as an individual worthy of the aspect of love, but knowing that you are the totality of love because that is your essence. So when you look at it and start becoming that energy on a daily basis, you'll notice that everything is available to you, right? Therefore, that does not bring about rejection. The whole idea of the feeling of your rejection of yourself in that sense has been based upon what other people have seen of you. And you've given them so much value pertaining to their opinions of yourself that you therefore assign yourself to that meaning, right? So this is basically where you're attempting to flow in the opposite direction of that now, and saying that it's fine if people have a certain perspective of me, but no one knows me better than thou. So when thou, thee, thy, etc. begins to realize themselves, there is no longer that particular barrier that stands in the way relating to the aspect of your own deserving. You deserve all that is because you are all that is. This is all just a big game that you're playing. It's a map on a screen, and you're playing this little dot, this little version of a physical self, but you are the map, you are the screen, you are everything that exists. So it's just about being able to spend some time with that version of yourself that has been hurt, and being able to love that younger version of yourself that has been hurt and saying, you are deserving, you are beautiful, you can accomplish anything. Therefore, you become the totality of thou. You become isness. And when you start to work together with that, nothing stands in your way pertaining to what it is you wish to bring forward within your reality. All right? You're welcome. Anything else?
I have one.
Yes. Who are we speaking with?
Nancy.
Nancy, hello.
Hi. This is something that's affected my family, and I'm just curious about autism.
Yes. It is the product of certain levels of toxicity. At times, it can also be karmic. It would depend upon the soul's journey. Now, basically, the aspect of autism in that sense can come from a particular soul from within a previous lifetime, may have represented difficulty with communication and difficulty with self-acceptance. Therefore, because of those particular karmic alignments, it can represent the idea of, in that sense, holding severe toxicity within themselves upon this life to where the aspect of communication becomes skewed. But the whole idea in that sense is that your own autism is completely reversible, if you're willing to look into that particular way. Now, basically, there are certain forms of music that can actually assist in the idea of the reversing of autism. There can also be the idea of the consumption of pure content, such as what you would know as structured silver, which again represents a type of ormus. This is in that sense, and this conduit is giving us a website that is referred to as thankyousilver.com. And when you're actually being able to use this particular form of structured silver, it purifies the cells. And this can also assist in the idea of helping to release mercury within the body as well too, which is quite notorious for the idea of autism and other particular forms of mental impairments. All right?
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Yes?
Haley again. What is
All right, we were just asking to the other person, is that all?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Haley, yes.
what is the best way that I can help others?
By helping yourself. That's the whole idea. You're not here for others. And again, we say that in a very different type of way. Is that the whole idea is that if you do not include yourself as number one within your life, if you try to put anybody else in that place, you will never reach a state of fulfillment. Because anytime you put someone ahead of yourself, then you're basically saying that I have to do everything for him, I have to do everything for her, and I have no time for myself, and I'm the one who's creating. And because I'm creating a perspective where I'm serving somebody else to the greatest extensions of my ability, then I cannot see that aspect of a harmony, because the attention is not going to me as a creator. It's going to somebody else, and I feel like I have to create for them. And you can't create for somebody else. That person will only create for them. You will only create for you. When you are bringing together people, it is the aspect of a magnetic alignment. It is telling yourself, this is the relationship that I see myself as, and everybody else within my space on a subconscious level is telling me how I see myself. So if you put yourself anything below the aspect of your own first focus of attention, you will never reach a state of fulfillment within life by doing that. All right? So put yourself first. Work with your inner being. Work with yourself. Therefore, as you start to work upon yourself, you radiate light towards everybody else that's around you, because you're now aligning yourself to the people that you understand are reflecting harmonious aspects of yourself. So until you learn the lessons from shadow law, then basically you're still going to be attracting certain forms of shadows within your life. Not to say that they represent some particular form of parasite, but they are giving you the idea as teachers. They're telling you everything not to be. And as everything you're learning is not to be, you therefore catapult yourself into light to therefore become refined, to therefore become the moment rather than the aspect of the teaching. All right? Thank you. Any other questions?
Catalina?
Yes?
What's the useful of the mind if it keeps us separated from the source?
The aspect of the mind is that it's an invention. It's the aspect of a program. It's the idea to what spirit itself utilizes in that form of a dynamic to understand how it can express itself. You cannot express yourself without the mind. Therefore, spirit understands its purity by inventing all of the creative aspects encased within the mind, to therefore realizing I've experienced all of these because it's showing me everything that I'm not. And what you're doing is you're refining yourself back into the essence of your being. So mind is therefore being this game. It is being this component that spirit will therefore align. A body, mind, spirit complex. And as you have a body represents the physical interaction and involvement within this realm. Mind represents the interface, the database, to where all expressions themselves can come. Spirit represents the essence that makes all of this possible. Make sense? So mind, in that sense, is a construct. A construct invented to helping you explore, experiment, and experience so that you know that's not what you are. So mind just tells you everything that you're not. That's its nature. That's what it's here to do. And that is something else that we will talk to all of you about. Does anybody in this room know about your life's purpose? Is there a yes or no?
I would like to know.
All right. Any yeses?
Yes.
Yes. All right. We would say drop the purpose. Because that's what's actually holding you back, rather than bringing about a liberation. So when you say, oh, I would like to know your purpose, we don't have one for you. Because it's not about purpose. Because again, that's playing with the mind. Have you considered the idea of playing with nature rather than purpose? Because all purpose is doing is saying, here's a fun box. Just like we were playing around earlier, saying, here's a ball of string. Playing in that box and having a lot of fun. Oh, this must be my purpose. I'm playing with my little kitty claws, and I'm playing with this ball of yarn, and it feels so good, etc., etc., etc. And that becomes a stimulation. Purpose is a stimulant. And so therefore, when you advance past the stimulant, you no longer have the drug of purpose. You're now becoming nature. So rather than looking at a forest where you feel that you're the tiny little shrub, you now look at everything that the forest represents. You're the grass, you're the trees, you're the birds singing upon the trees. You're every form of life that exists within the forest. To be that is to be nature, because you're not pondering the meaning of your existence, which is what's causing you to come back here again and again and again, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, saying, I'm not coming back here until I understand my life's purpose. Well, then keep coming back, because your purpose is not a liberation. It is a stimulant, and it creates the aspect of confinement. It keeps you in a box. It tells you, I'm a musician, I'm a dancer, I'm a teacher, and that's all I am. That's my purpose. No. Because if you look at it in that particular way, you will not be able to understand the richness, the fruitfulness of yourself. Remember back to our analogy as it relates to the charcoal, to where when you break open the coal, you see the diamond inside. Everything pertaining to that charcoal, as it relates to shadow, was tightening and pressuring itself together for this diamond to therefore forge. And it is through all of those experiences that you realize that you're not, that have helped you to understand the diamond. The diamond has many facets. It doesn't just have one. You have to look at yourself as an endless, infinite facet of a diamond. That no matter how much you rotate, there will be infinite amount of facets. So you can see yourself as a plumber, you can see yourself as a teacher, you can see yourself as a musician, you can see yourself as a politician, etc. All of that exists within the reflection of one facet. But there are all these other facets that represent yourself. How do you experience all facets at once? By being one with the diamond. Not feeling that you are driven by purpose, because purpose will only show you one facet at a time. Look into your nature, which means you have no definition. Has nature itself ever put a label on anything? Yes, no, maybe? Anybody else? Hello? No. So why do you feel you need to put a label on yourself? You're going to get one of those little stick guns and... Here, I'm a teacher. It says so on my sleeve. No. The whole idea is that you are endless, that you are boundless, that you are capable of exploring everything. Therefore, you're not limiting yourself. The more that you can play together with spirit, to play together with your love, with your pure essence of being, the more liberated you will become. It cannot happen through the pursuit and passion of purpose. Purpose, again, is just a stimulator. All right? Any other questions?
I have one, Adronis.
Yes?
How do you connect with your higher self or your guides?
Well, your guides in that sense basically function together if you are unable to connect with your higher self. So guides will therefore come together and they will give you certain forms of understandings. They will reach out to you, often through synchronicity, often through dreams, or again through synchronistic moments where you feel that you're getting a message and then helping yourself to carry it out. The higher self really has no involvement as it pertains to the drama upon this planet. So when you're working together with the higher self, it does not even have emotion within it. You would understand that the higher self would appear to be somewhat robotic in that way. It really does not have a personality. And so when you're connecting with the purity of the higher self, you are receiving pure information, pure source consciousness in that way. Now, many of you may have ideas about what the higher self represents to you. It may represent a high, loving, angelic being, filled with light in that particular way. Very well. That is your context, your archetype about what you are connecting to. Does not mean that that may be the aspect and totality of your higher self, but that's the canvas that it wishes to choose itself. It may represent a popular being throughout your history, relating to that form to which you are connecting with. Your guides may also, again, impose themselves as certain people within your life, or again, throughout your ancient history, to giving you some rendition to the nature of their relationship. Everything's a hologram. You cannot prove to anybody else that what you're connecting to is actually what you're connecting to. We can't even prove to you that we exist. You can't even prove to us that you exist. So basically, when you are connecting together with these energies, let it serve you and let it share with you what it represents to yourself through that relationship. Yes?
Is there a way to tangibly know that there is a connection?
That's only through yourself. Because the whole idea is that, do you know what it feels like to have an aha moment? To have a download? Yes? Well, that's the idea of having a connection with pure guidance. That can be the higher self. That can just be, again, your true self sharing this realization and saying, oh my goodness, I know now to stop the struggle because of this realization I just had. That's your tangibility. Because what you're basically doing is bringing intangibility into a tangibility anchor. And so the more that you are able to bring the intangible and tangible together, you have true existence. This is all just, again, a canvas, a phase. You're basically here to helping yourselves get completely out of here, or rather we would say get in here. So basically you've been focused so much on getting out by experiencing so much of physical external reality that you're working to go back in. And that is the aspect. The in is the out, rather than the out is feeling. It is the in. So therefore you're no longer playing with so much of the holograms of what this reality is attempting to tell you. So therefore, the aspect of tangibility is just a sensation that has been processed within this lifetime, within this reality, within this moment, to giving you an idea of something of great truth. Because guess what? As it relates to your truth, it's unchangeable. Your truth can't be changed. It will always be your truth. Someone else will have another truth. Their truth is never your own. And this is why we say that teachings in that way really aren't so much effective. Because when you're actually looking into a teaching of another, you're looking into the aspect of their own truth. Only when that truth resonates with your own is there actually something that relates to a cooperation, a collaboration in that particular way. So the whole idea here is to work with understanding, is to work with your own truth. And when you start to do that, you welcome change. What does change bring to you?
Understanding and learning.
Meaninglessness. When something becomes meaningless, it changes. Because let's look at it in this idea. Yesterday, I fell down and I scraped my toe. And oh, my toe is really, really hurting. Well, I put a Band-Aid, I kissed it better, didn't even think about it for the rest of the day. It changed from pain to healing. So therefore, the aspect of the pain became meaningless. And that's how change functions. Change comes in to letting you know something has been rendered meaningless. And truth will always be your authentic path. So you're always following the authentic path of truth because that will never change and you can't identify truth. It's like trying to identify a feeling. It can't be done. So this is where we say when you align to truth, you will know what comes, be it your higher self, be it your guides, etc. But it's all following a path of truth. Therefore, the truth is always unchangeable. And therefore inviting in change to render everything meaningless. Because that's when you're at your greatest state of empowerment, when life becomes meaningless. And when it becomes meaningless, this is showing you that you're open to everything that creation wants to share with you. You cannot be open to everything if you're holding on to everything. You have to let everything go. You need to drop the bags. You need to empty yourself as this vessel. Pour all the water out so that you can now play together with the energy. This is why one of your biggest symbolic references is an empty cup. Because this is it, is that as soon as you get water in it, dump it out and keep it empty. That's how you understand everything, by being nothing. Make sense?
That's beautiful, thank you.
That's paradox. To understand everything, be nothing. Look into the idea in that sense of your own Taoisms relating to the aspect of the Tao. That the Tao itself is telling you, in order for you to be everything, be nothing. Expect nothing. Feel nothing. Simply be yourself. And as self, S-E-L-F, is there. It represents the purity of your being. But you can even transcend self into foreverness. You can transcend self into nature. And that's, again, another journey within itself. All right? Thank you. We are happy to take one last question before we conclude.
It's
Yes?
Grant. This is my first experience with my brother channeling, and you mentioned something about you visited on occasion.
Several times, yes.
I was just wondering what maybe the interdimensional relationship that we might have, or if there's something that of a message that Adronis would want to pass on to me, or what I would need to recognize with this visit? Maybe?
One hand holding another. So basically showing, are you willing to come with us when we take your hand, or do you feel you need to stay where you are? That's the nature of our relationship as it relates to connections with you. Helping you to say, well, look in this way. I don't know. I got responsibilities over here. Don't know if I can do that right now. All right. We'll always be reaching our hand out to you. Now, basically, you have the ability to do very similar to what Brad himself is doing here as well. But the whole idea in that sense is that you have created the aspect of responsibility to be so much of a heavy ceiling on top of yourself that it's about to cave in. And so this is in that sense why we're saying, take our hand, we'll show you something else. We'll show you what exists beyond that ceiling. It's a glass ceiling that may be on the verge of shattering. So therefore, when you start to listen to yourself and harmonize with yourself, and not feeling that your circumstances are owning you, then you realize there's so much opportunity around you that you could not even fathom before. And because you finally let go, you're now able to experience it. It doesn't have to be as painful as ripping off a Band-Aid all at once. It can be the idea that you don't even have a Band-Aid on, because it's not looking in the aspect of injury anymore. It's looking into salvation. Right? That is the understanding. All right? We thank all of you for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, and we now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever. All is one, and love is essence. Goodbye for now. Hey, guys. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming today for New Earth Teachings. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Tina and to Adam, again, for being here as well, too. I am looking to do maybe some more of these events, probably around spring or summertime, because it's winter time now and it's pretty quiet. But again, on the back table, you can find my business cards there as well, too. I do private sessions as well. I could even do them in person. Maybe that's even possible. Haven't done that yet in Salt Spring. And of course, my books are back there as well, too. It's called The Reality Whisperer. I wrote that last year. And there's a whole bunch of great stuff in it. You can check out the back of the book. But again, thank you so much for being here, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.